What's up YouTube? This is Gresnick and welcome back to another video. Today we will be reacting again to Lockstin because, well, they posted today. I love hidden meanings in Eevee art. As always, like and subscribe to Lockstin and myself, and let's get into the video. I love when he uses his old his old images in his videos.
You know, I'm sure it's just because I've only started paying attention to the card game again after years thanks to TCG Pocket, but after all of the Ultra Beasts had moves named after music genres that perfectly fit them, I decided to start paying attention to more sets of cards. And now the Eevee Grove booster set is out, featuring Eevee and the Eeveelutions. It's a perfect and varied set, much like the Ultra Beasts. However, looking at all the Eeveelutions here, they don't seem to have that extra layer of theming, but there is still a secret to be found here. Specifically in this rare alternate art for Eevee by Narumi Sato. Do you see it? I sure hope you do. It's the flowers in Eevee's Grove.
Yep.
There's a pretty ornate beauty going on in this card because what's going on is both obvious and complex at the same time. Obviously, each of these 8 plants relates to one of Eevee's 8 Eeveelutions. I mean, their colors line up perfectly, but for those in the know, it gets a lot deeper. Each of these flowers fit their respective evolution in ways much deeper than just their color. For some, it's their specific anatomy, or their habitat, or their symbolism in the language of flowers, which we've talked about many times on this channel before. But before we dive into that big rabbit hole, let's quickly uncover the secrets of some other past Eevee cards, because a lot of them, it turns out, kinda do the same thing. Though most of the time Eevee cards are nothing special, just another Pokemon card. However, sometimes the art will show Eevee in a situation that implies which evolution it's heading towards, such as this Eevee prowling the city at night. That's kind of perfectly referencing Umbreon. Or this one in a heart and star-filled macaron-pillowed playroom, implying the sweets-loving pink and playful Sylveon. Or Lieutenant Surge's Eevee.
The electric type. Gee, I wonder which evolve into.
Let fun rule with Blue Bunny.
No. No!
I'm so lost.
AI that with Copilot.
Go away.
I wonder what he's gonna do. Or all the poncho-wearing Eevees.
Gonna make it turn into a Flareon.
Kind of easy. But there are a few Eevee cards, like the first one with the flowers, that showcase all of Eevee's possible evolutions. Take Radiant Eevee. The crystals in this cave are the colors of the evolutions, with the one odd exception of this one, which I guess is supposed to be Umbreon, who's the only evolution not represented otherwise.
Really
I guess yellow is already taken, and a black crystal isn't shiny or radiant enough, so they made it kind of like a pale periwinkle. Umbreon does have poison sweat, and poison is purple in Pokemon, so I guess that's okay. Though the Japanese art of this card uses sparkles instead of crystals, but here Umbreon is like a dark green-blue. Though maybe it just looks that way because the green part of the rainbow behind it is shining through. Perhaps the sparkle itself here is mainly the cool bluish gray that the card game uses for darkness energy. This early Eevee card features holographic glitter in the background on the left that references the 3 evolutions at the time, and this Eevee is less subtle with the same reference. This one might be doing that with the yarn balls. Glaceon, Sylveon, Leafeon, Flareon, Vaporeon. Maybe this big one with the 2 knitting needles implies that it's 2 of them? Umbreon and Espeon? They are a duo, and this color is like perfectly between their 2 colors, but where's Jolteon in this picture then? I guess where it belongs. And here's a more recent one. This Eevee is frolicking through a field of flowers in all of the colors of its evolutions, though definitely more so generic flowers rather than all being different species, but at least they got Umbreon right this time. Remember, black and yellow, a friendly fellow. Yellow and black, you'd best turn back. My personal favorite example, though, is definitely this full art Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. There's 8 Eevee playing in a room, just as there are 8 evolutions, but surely they are just playing Eevees. There's no way to tell their implied evolutionary destiny from just this one image. Right? Well, let's go ahead and Photoshop the text out for a clearer picture, and right away, the Eevee on bottom is being curious about a mug with a clear wavy water pattern on it. Vaporeon. Easy. And this one seems to be really protective of those flowers, or at least loves being near them enough to snuggle the vase. Leafeon. And, those are the only obvious ones. So, great. And plus, spoilers, one of these obvious ones might be wrong. So looking into it more, each evolution also has personality differences and traits explained in their Pokedex entries. For instance, Umbreon is the only one that's nocturnal. Looking out the window in this art, it's clearly daytime, maybe even early morning, and there is one Eevee sleeping in. Or who just recently fell asleep. There's Umbreon. Then, do you know how to evolve Eevee into Sylveon in its original games, X and Y? You had to raise its affection at least 2 levels, which you could do easily by using its Pokemon Amie feature, where you would feed your Pokemon Pokepuffs, and more importantly, you'd play with them. This was carried over into later games too, just using friendship instead of affection, and sure enough, the quickest way to do that is to play with your Eevee in Pokemon camps and such. Playing with toys. This is the only Eevee playing with a toy, and a toy Hydreigon at that, the evil dragon dark type, so 4 times weak to fairy type. That's basically a fairy's favorite plaything, a bad dragon. This is Sylveon. At first I thought maybe this one could be Jolteon because it's staring behind the chair, perhaps at a power outlet in the wall, but actually Jolteon has the highest speed stat of all the evolutions, being twice as fast as Glaceon even, and look, only one of the Eevees has got big zoomies. You know, that thing where your cat or dog is just running around back and forth through the house just for fun? Zoom, zoom, zoom. So there's the twitchy Jolteon getting all of its excess energy out. So then, what is this one peering into the darkness behind the recliner then?
Kinda has to be Flareon.
Well, who's left? Glaceon, Flareon, and Espeon. Espeon evolves only during the day, so it could be the Eevee sitting in direct sunlight, but I think this Eevee has a stronger case. That look in its eye. It's seeing things. Peering behind the thin veil of reality, gazing into another world, or perhaps the future world.
Hey, can you not?
Blankly because it's peering more so through its mind's eye, rather than with its physical ones. That's why Espeon has the gem in its head after all. I wonder what it sees.
Hey.
Look, I get it. You're from Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, or Canada, so life is overall good, but it could be better, because you really want new Pokemon games and merch that are only sold in Japan. If only you could find a way to get Japan exclusive goods shipped to you. Well, guess what? There is one. And no, you don't need to buy a home in Japan just for that. The top secret method is actually just using today's sponsor, Zen Market. They will be the Japanese address for you. Using Zen Market is easy. The coupon code ECMS40. So yes, you can improve your life with a Pikachu plush you can bring in the bath, or a Marini shampoo massager, or any of these countless Pokemon goods they decided would be Japan only. All you gotta do is use the link under this video to begin your online shopping adventure. And I hope you have fun with it. I definitely had too much fun with it. It's dangerous. And that just leaves these two for Flareon and Glaceon. The fire-type Flareon would prefer sitting in the sun, obviously, but then what about this one, says Glaceon? It's sitting in the shade of the chair's arm and Flareon to stay cool, maybe? But its neck fluff is also the fluffiest of the bunch here, which Glaceon doesn't even have at all. And this layout feels a bit weird too, so let's try this. Let's switch the obvious Vaporeon with Glaceon. Now, the original 3 evolutions are all on the recliner, along with Sylveon, the most recent. This would also mean we can draw 2 non-intersecting parallel lines between the other 2 duos.
Oh wow, that actually is a lot better.
Umbreon with Espeon and Glaceon with Leafeon. This feels a lot better. This would get you a better grade in design class. But now, how does the logic work? Well, Vaporeon does have the most drastic neck frill of all of the evolutions, fitting of this middle Eevee's huge neck fluff. But then how about Mug Eevee? Glaceon? Well, what else do we see? The mug is on top of a deep blue book, which itself is on top of a brown book. And the top of the mug is white, like snow or ice. An iceberg floating on the ocean's surface? The books then could be the ocean depths and the ocean floor, maybe? It could be, but let me know your thoughts and ideas in the comments below as we move back to the card that started this all. Again, I probably don't need to tell you which plants are which pokes, but can we identify these plants and determine any deeper meaning? Oh, I think we can. Eevee appears to be staring at these red ones, so we'll start there. Those very well could be just some red poppies, perhaps specifically the grand flowered horned poppy. It's got red flowers with yellow stamens, single flowers on the ends of long stems, which have the right number of petals too. They have weirdo leaves, and said weirdo leaves are really only around the base of the long stems, just like in the art. Plus, it's a species which is native to dry desert regions found in the Middle East, which is very fitting of our fluffy fire type. Though, symbolically, red poppies tends to represent things like sleep, death, and remembrance, especially when referring to the war dead. The flames of of war bring oblivion to all, the ultimate final sleep. Though that may be a bit dark, so I'm not sure if that connection was intentional or more so a coincidence. But Jolteon now. The knee-jerk reaction, of course, is that those are dandelions, which are symbols of strength, overcoming hardship, and emotional healing. Though dandelions don't have quite as spiky a calyx or receptacles as the plants do in this picture. And those would definitely be perfect features to have here, since that's Jolteon's whole point. Several of Jolteon's dex entries talk about its spiky fur and sharp hair that can pierce enemies with bristles, which is not something that dandelions typically do. But yellow star thistles. Oof. Big spiky, lots of pins all over, including just around the base of the flower like we see in the art. As far as their symbolism goes though, it too is not super fitting. Resilience, strength, defense, and vigilance. Those aren't exactly Jolteon's strong suits, so I think in this case the plant was chosen more so for its fitting physical elements. I may be sensing a theme here. But how about Vaporeon? While a bit hard to pinpoint since we only see the backs of these flowers, I do think it's safe to say that these are blue Himalayan poppies. They bend over like in the art, they have similar looking leaves with only a few leaves per stem, they have 4 crateriform petals which can be more in, like all of those in this art, or more out. This picture shows both variations well. This flower tends to symbolize humility and mystery. And I would argue mystery fits Vaporeon quite well, seeing as when it's in the water it can become practically invisible, hiding away in slow-flowing streams in perfect secrecy. And plus, while the Amazon may be the most voluminous river and the Nile is the longest, the Himalayas have the most rivers originating from them of any mountain range, both east through China and south through the Indian subcontinent, including the Ganges River, the river with the most humans living around it. That's a lot of water. A lot of very important water. Umbreon is obviously a simplified black currant bush. The leaves are just perfectly shaped, and you can just reduce the overall number of berries to keep the artwork simple and...
You an ad.
There you go. But of course there's the big question of why. Why is Umbreon a black currant bush other than the color? Well, first, a fun fact. While Umbreon is dark type, it has several dex entries that talk about how poisonous it is. And of course, Wilderness Survival 101 includes, don't eat mysterious berries you can't identify. Several of them are poisonous. And while the Eurasian native black currant is a fine berry for humans to eat, they were actually illegal in the US for a while and still are in some states. That's because they carried white pine blister rust fungus, which was a serious cause of disease and death for the large population of white pine trees here in the States. So for quite a while, those in the US wanting to make European recipes with currants had to make do with Zonte currants, because Zonte currants are not actually currants whatsoever. They are grapes, which are toxic to dogs, so they are not a fit substitute for all of your berry-filled dog treats. Also, spiritual sustentation is what they symbolize, but that's also not super fitting. I mean, Umbreon's dex entries mentions its hunting methods, but spiritual sustenation? I don't know. But Espeon over here is represented by what looks like a small patch of lavender at first, which would be pretty fitting. Lavender typically symbolizes purity, calmness, and elegance, all things that can describe the powerful psychic mind of this pretty kitty. However, most lavender grows in rounder bushes, whereas up close we can see that these flowers are all coming up out of the ground in multiple stems, straight up and out. Of course, that doesn't rule out lavender entirely, as the artist could have simply taken some artistic liberties, as many do, but consider catmint. Espeon is the most cat-like of the evolutions, and catmint is a bit pinker than lavender typically is too. Plus, it's a symbol of happiness and relaxation. And well, there's the calm mind and the special evolution method. Friendship, aka happiness. Leafeon now though, that's just a bunch of leaves. Great. Where to start? How about the Pokedex? Quote, the younger they are, the more they smell like fresh grass. With age, their fragrance takes on the odor of fallen leaves. Galarians favor the distinctive aroma that drifts from this Pokemon's leaves. There's a popular perfume made using that scent. Together, those dex entries sort of imply that it smells like grass when it's really young, and aromatic herbs when it's an adult, and then fallen leaves when it's elderly. And that jump to aromatic herbs is just because aromatic herbs are one of the most common ingredients in perfumes. So, I think we're looking for an aromatic ground cover herb with generic looking leaves, and that only narrows it down a bit. Lemon balm, a non-flowering plantain, lamb's ear but less white, bunchberry that hasn't begun to flower yet. All decent guesses, but honestly, I think a young sage plant might be exactly what we're looking
Yeah, that
for.
looks close enough.
Those are like literally those leaves. Sage is used in all sorts of ways. It's an herb in cooking to make your meal more minty, peppery, or aromatic. It's a soap ingredient to make your soap smell more earthy and feel smoother. And yes, it is used in many perfumes for its lovely herbal woodiness and slight spice. And of course, it's a popular essential oil that does nothing besides make your room smell a bit nicer. Symbolically, sage flowers represent wisdom, longevity, and domestic virtue. I'm gonna have to look up what domestic virtue means, one sec. Aha! Moral qualities and values associated with managing a household and family life. In short, it's just being a good person at home. Keep the kids fed, keep the guests entertained, keep up with the chores, water the plants, do the dishes, water the plants, vacuum, water the plant. Oh, you overwatered the plants! Glaceon immediately strikes me as a pansy. And as for what flower we have here, yeah, they could be pansies too. They've got the half white that blue pansies are known for, and the middle of the flower has the darker color bit that's more often than not around pansy stamens. Although, the leaves of the actual plant don't match the leaves we see on this card at all.
Yeah.
I guess that's because this isn't a pansy. It's a baby blue eyes flower. I mean, look at it. 5 blue and white petals with 5 black anthers, and the leaves are all in the same way. You know what I mean. The only point against them is that the green isn't quite icy enough. It's just too green. Though I think we can easily chalk that up to the artist making sure that you understand that this is the plant that represents Glaceon. I'm sure if you took this real plant, froze it, and gave it some of the environment is cold cinematic color grading, it would be 1-to-1. Symbolically, they seem to go along with their name. They are symbols of innocence and childlike trust, which is exactly why the artist had to make positively sure you did not confuse it with Vaporeon out of all the evolutions. You know what I mean.
Did you know?
Yep.
And lastly, Sylveon. It's pink, frilly, and kind of folded in on itself, just like many species of mallow flowers, such as the cotton rose mallow. Its frilly, petally pinkness is just kind of going everywhere, like Sylveon's ribbons.
My bows are made of flesh!
I feel like the artist looked at these flowers and then just decided to make them smaller for this art, which is perfectly a-okay. And symbolically speaking, the cotton rose mallow fits pretty well because they symbolize resilience and the beauty found in both strength and fragility. Beauty is a major theme for both Sylveon itself and the games it was introduced in, X and Y. And pretty much the entire fairy type is about both strength and fragility. A lot of fairy type Pokemon are dainty little pinky girly things, but then they can pack a wallop anyway, even taking down huge dragons with ease. So all in all, I really enjoy when cards go the extra mile and include little details like this. But now, would you like some examples of the opposite? Cards that are
Yeah, with funny moves. I don't think I reacted to that video, but I did watch it. As always, good video from Loxton. And as always, like and subscribe to Loxton and myself, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.